If you have communication challenges in your relationships, it's important to evaluate your own behavior for starters. The truth is, you can't control the behavior of others you communicate with, but you can work to ensure that at least you're approaching conversations the right way. You're starting off on the right foot. Non-confrontational communication skills are how we do this. They're essential for navigating disagreements, expressing your needs, and setting boundaries without escalating tension or damaging relationships. And they focus on three things: clarity, respect, and understanding. Now, this isn't about coddling someone else, right? It's about the shortest distance between 2 points, the most parsimonious route to your goal, whatever it is that you're after in the conversation. So start by asking yourself, how can I approach this discussion in a way that's most likely to get a non-defensive response from the other person so that we can actually get somewhere in our conversation? We can actually accomplish something, reach a resolution. So here's a breakdown of 13 strategies you can implement immediately. Number 1 is to see conversation, not confrontation. So first and foremost, you want to ensure you're approaching the conversation appropriately. Viewing the interaction as simply a discussion or addressing of issues versus a conflict or confrontation puts you in the right mindset before you even utter a word. To confront literally means to meet someone face to face with hostile or argumentative intent. So take that word out of your vocabulary. Instead, see the situation as an opportunity to address an issue, discuss a situation, or unpack an event. Second is I statements. So focus on your feelings and experiences, not on blaming the other person. The structure here is this: I feel, insert your emotion, when, name the specific behavior or situation that's bothering you, because, and then describe the impact on you. So I feel when blank because blank. I feel when because. Let's look at examples. So a confrontational example would be something like, you always interrupt me and it's so rude. Shifting that into non-confrontational would be, I feel unheard when I'm interrupted because it makes it difficult for me to share my thoughts. So I feel when because. Number 3 is active listening. So here it's important to pay full attention to the other person without interrupting. And you want to show that you're listening by maintaining eye contact, nodding, and using verbal cues like uh-huh or I see. I get it. After the person is done speaking, then you want to reflect back what you hear by paraphrasing or at least summarizing their points to ensure understanding. You can start with, so if I understand correctly, you're saying ABC. Next, you want to ask clarifying questions, such as, could you tell me more about that? Or what do you mean by XYZ? Trying to get more information. You always want to try to empathize with the other person. So try to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with it. You can express this by saying something like, I can see how that would be frustrating. Number 4 is validation. So this involves acknowledging and validating the other person's feelings, even if you disagree with their perspective. You can say things like, I understand you're feeling, and then insert the emotion that you think is going on. Or, that sounds really difficult. Or, it makes sense that you would feel that way. Validation doesn't mean agreement. Remember that. You can acknowledge their feelings and validate where they're coming from without agreeing with their actions or opinions. Number 5 is to focus on wants, not positions. So positions are specific solutions people propose, such as, I need you to do the dishes right now. Wants are the underlying desires or motivations, such as, I want help with the household chores. By focusing on those underlying wants, you can explore more collaborative solutions. For example, saying you want help with chores in general opens the door to a discussion about areas of opportunity versus one person dictating exactly what another one will do to help. A position-focused example would be, you have to do it my way. A want-focused example would be, I want this to be handled efficiently. How can we make that happen? So it's collaboration, not competition. Number 6 is to use tentative language. First and foremost, you want to avoid absolutes and generalizations. Things like always, never, ever, forever, as well as other statements that kind of convey this or define someone in a specific and limited way. Instead, you want to use language that invites discussion. Again, focus on getting somewhere in the conversation, finding resolution, not just going back and forth without getting anywhere. That's a waste of everyone's time. So you can lead with things like, it seems like, and then fill in the blank. Perhaps, maybe you would consider, or maybe we could consider, or from my perspective, fill in the blank. An example of this absolute language I'm talking about is telling someone, you're wrong. Okay? If we shift that into tentative language, you could say, I have a different perspective on that. You're saying you don't agree, you see it differently, but it's not so abrasive. Number 7 is to maintain a calm and respectful tone. So you want to work to control your emotions. For example, pause for a second to take a deep breath if you feel yourself getting agitated. It takes nanoseconds, right? Speak in a measured and even tone as well. So avoid raising your voice, conveying sarcasm, and using hostile body language. Number 8 is to focus on the issue, not the person. So frame the discussion around the specific problem, not the character of the other person or their flaws. An example of focusing on the person is saying something like, you're being lazy and inconsiderate. An issue-focused example is, I'm feeling like the chores aren't being divided evenly. Number 9 is to find common ground. So identify areas where you agree or share similar goals. Make that connection. Start the conversation by acknowledging the commonalities. You can say something like, we both want what's best for this project, and then lead into what your concerns are. Number 10 is to be mindful of body language. So maintain an open and non-threatening posture with uncrossed arms and legs and relaxed shoulders. Make appropriate eye contact without staring or glaring, and then use neutral or gentle facial expressions. Again, shortest distance between 2 points. Number 11 is simply to know when to take a break. So if the conversation becomes too heated, you can suggest taking a break and revisiting the issue later when everyone's calmer. You can say, I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. Can we take a pause and talk about this again in an hour? Just make sure you set a time to come back to the issue. Otherwise, it could get swept under the rug, which means no resolution, and then that results in the issue resurfacing later with even greater emotionality associated with it. So now we've added insult to injury. Number 12 is to offer solutions and collaboration. So instead of just stating the problem, suggest potential solutions and invite the other person to collaborate on finding a resolution. You could say, maybe we could try, and then insert your idea for a solution. What are your thoughts? It's all about suggesting versus demanding. And number 13 is to set boundaries clearly and respectfully. So be direct about your limits without being aggressive. You can say, I'm not able to discuss this right now. Or, in the future, I'd like you to, and then insert the specific behavior you're looking for. Use I statements when setting boundaries as well. So, I have to leave by 6 p.m. Practicing these non-confrontational communication skills takes time and effort. I get that, okay? But it's about shifting your focus from winning an argument to understanding each other and finding mutually respectful solutions. Remember, we're not trying to placate anyone, okay? But we are trying to be efficient and speak in ways that are conducive to success in our interactions. So pick a couple of these and try them out. Just start somewhere. Which one do you plan to try first?